Alright, what is up, my friends? Welcome. Historic Anthology number 4 is here, which brings 25 new cards to MTG Arena for the Historic format. These anthologies have been pretty cool so far. They've added cards like Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, and other exciting, cards that we are used to in Modern or Historic and things, not Historic, Modern or Pioneer Legacy to the Historic format without the need to do the entire set. So kind of giving Historic its own feel, Phyrexian Tower, and so on and so forth. And now we have 25 new cards here in Historic Anthology 4. Let's jump right in and just go through them all and do a little mini set review. First up is Triumphant Reckoning, which I guess is a commander card or something. White, 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 6 sorcery. Turn all artifacts, enchantment, and planeswalker cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Definitely kind of a fun, casual card. I don't think it's going to make too much of an effect on the Historic format. Very, very expensive. I'm sure this could, be some sort of combo deck, Enduring Ideal, sort of make a bunch of mana, cast this card, win the game, but 9 mana is a lot. 9 mana is a lot. This is probably more of a casual card, kind of a filler card, honestly, not super exciting. That's okay. Move right along here to Torment of Scarabs. 4 mana enchantment curse. Being enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice an online permanent or discarded card. Alright. I mean, Amonkhet Remastered, just came out somewhat recently. This card was in Amonkhet, so this is kind of a weird one here. It's kind of a cute curse and all, but not particularly playable in really anything. So kind of a weird choice here. The fact that it was in a set that just came out, well, not in a set, but in a set where it could have just come out, because there are cards that were in that were not in Amonkhet Remaster that were in Amonkhet. Kind of weird one here. Up next is the Raven Inspector. The Raven Inspector. Oh, be still. Be still, my beating heart. Of course, this card is awesome. And there's a lot of really cool artifact stuff happening in Historic right now. Without a lot of, push. Cards like Toolcraft Exemplar, Scrapheap Scrounger. And there just isn't really enough to push them into, the full realm of playability. Emery, Lurker, Valak. And this is a great artifact enabler. Just a super awesome card. This is just, what a white card should be. It's a card that's more than the sum of its parts. It's 2 permanents for 1 mana. Draws a card. It's a 1/2. It's a human. Just an awesome card. Very happy addition to the Historic format. I'm really pumped for this one. It's a little weird because I imagine that some sort of Innistrad remastered set would probably be pretty close to next in the pipeline for Arena, but very happy this card is in. It looks so innocent, but it does a lot to make the kind of a synergy decks work. Big plus for me on this one. Super awesome. Think Twice is our next one, and Think Twice is also an awesome card. This card is probably not good enough to see play in Constructed. It's seen a little play in Modern here and there. It was a big player in Standard. I cast this card a lot. I've Thunk Twice many a time. Sort of just an interesting take on divination, or just a divination over 2 turns. I do love this card. It's probably not going to do much in Historic. It is a possible card, but with new cards like Behold the Multiverse and stuff, this feels a little more like a relic of a bygone era, but it's a cool card. Not super exciting, but cool nonetheless. Up next is Sword of Body and Mind, and the first of the swords to be on Arena, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Sword of Body and Mind's the blue and green protection sword, most notably known for being really annoying in Vintage Cube, where when it hits your opponent, you mill 10 cards, so 2 hits and they're dead usually. Not like that in Constructed, obviously. Historic has no Stoneforge Mystic or anything like that. So kind of an oddity. Obviously not super good if your opponent's not playing blue or green. Not one of the swords that usually sees playing Constructed. It's kind of a weird one, honestly. Just one of the sword cycle. Probably one of the weaker ones for Constructed play. Kind of cool. I mean, could have niche applications if blue and green are really important. But kind of a weird one, honestly. Kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. Speaking of head scratchers, Spider Spawning. The good news is that Spider Spawning is a super cool card. The bad news is we're not going to be drafting Historic Anthology anytime soon. Yeah, I don't. This is like the linchpin of Innistrad draft format. The cool card that everyone remembers. Super cool finisher in late game. I definitely could see play in Brawl or some sort of more casual stuff. But I mean, this is a weird one because you'd expect to see this card in a Modern Masters set where you draft it, and part of the point is to draft it. But we're not drafting anthologies, so kind of a weird one. Cool card, but... Up next is Sawtuska Demolisher. 6 mana for a 6/6 trample. It has Mutate 4, and it mutates you Beast Within. I believe this is probably one of the commander cards from Ikoria. Kind of a cool card, honestly. I mean, it's a pretty big beat stick. It's sort of like a, we can kill lands with this. We can kill planeswalkers. I don't really know if this card has a super big home, but this card is probably comparable to Gemrazor in a decent amount of ways. If some sort of Gruul deck needed this effect, it feels again more like a big kind of brawl commandery card. Kind of weird though, a card that I didn't really know existed until about 2 minutes ago. So definitely an interesting one, I guess, for sure. Up next is Marit Lage's Slumber. Some Modern Horizons cards getting the foot in the door here. 2-mana legendary snow enchantment. Whenever it or another snow permanent comes into play, you scry 1. And then beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more snow permanents, you get a Marit Lage token. Now, obviously, really, really cool with Kaladesh introducing Snowlands to Historic. This could be a thing. I mean, I've played this card in Modern before, one of my early Snow decks, and it was not bad. This is kind of a win condition where you just keep playing lands. No Arkham's Astrolabe, obviously, in Historic. And that card was legal in Modern when I played this card. But kind of a cool, fun one. I mean, probably not going to do much, but kind of a cute card to have access to for various Historic Snow decks. Listalana Huntmaster. Same thing with the drafting thing. This was a bomb draft common in Lorwyn block draft. But I feel like not much more than that. What's all these draft cards? What's going on here?
Somebody's playing a prank on me.
We're not drafting this set. It's a 25 card supplemental product. I don't really understand why these draft cards are in here, but cool card. Not really playable elf. Up next is Inspiring Stature. This is also weird too, because a lot of cards in this anthology are cards that could have been in Kaladesh Remastered or could have been in Amonkhet Remastered, and just weren't. Like, this is one of the big omissions from Kaladesh Remastered. Kind of a combo card here. Gives all your non-artifact cards improvise. Kind of a card that shows up in combo decks. Why wasn't this in Kaladesh Remastered? And why are they selling it to us now after the fact? It's kind of weird. Honestly. Definitely a card that we'll see some play in artifact decks, but just feels weird. Up next is Iceberg Kankarix, another Modern Horizons Snow card. One of the linchpin draft commons, again, of the format here. We're seeing a trend here, draft commons in the anthology. 4 for 2. Mills, whenever you play a snow permanent, play a land, mill 2. You can target yourself, which is kind of cool for like dredge and stuff, but probably not a constructed level card. We have the 1-mana crab in Historic, and only 2 cards, not 3. Kind of a weird one. I don't know. Kind of weird. Up next is Harmless Offering. Yeah, definitely a cute one. Obviously, the red version of Donate. And this is a fun card. This is a card I'm pretty happy is in Historic. Is it going to be part of a Tier 1 deck? Probably not. But it's a fun card. You can donate your demonic packs or what have you. Just kind of a cool, fun card. Obviously, an iconic card. Has the fun art. People just like this card. This is cool. I think this is a cool... If there are going to be cards in the Historic Anthology that aren't like mega playable in Historic, this is what they should be, for sure. Definitely a very harmless introduction to the Historic format. No? Alright, sure. Up next is Hamza, Guardian of Arashin. 6-mana Selesnya 5/5, legendary elephant. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control. They count plus a counter on it. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control. They plus one counter on it. So kind of a cool card. Let's look at the commander card here. There are definitely some cool +1/+1 synergy effects in Historic. Winding Constrictor, Conclave, whatever it is. Venerated Loxodon, things like that. So kind of a cool card. It's kind of like a weird Mirror Enforcer for +1/+1 counters. But second ability, probably not relevant. Also, like things like Hangerback Walker were to enter the format with X spells in them. I guess Stonecoil Serpent is legal. So kind of a weird one. Definitely a fringe playable. Kind of cool seeing this weird commander card in Historic. Got the Infinity Gauntlet on there with 3 Mind Stones. Kind of weird. And you watch WandaVision? Anyone? But yeah. So kind of a weird one. Kind of a fun one though. One of those cards that like could see play. So I'm okay with this. Pretty cool. Up next is Goblin Gavaliere. Another draft common that wasn't really like a major player in the draft format. It was kind of a niche deck. 1/1 trample for 1, +2/+0 for every equipment attached to it. I don't really get it, folks. I don't really get why there are so many weird draft commons in this historic anthology. I just don't really understand. I don't get it. I doubt this card will make any impact at all in the format. I don't know. I just don't know. Flameblade Adept, a really, really cool card, and a big omission from Amonkhet Remastered. again, kind of weird this card wasn't in Amonkhet Remastered, and it's a really cool card. Obviously saw a lot of play in Modern in the Hollowblade decks. There is no Faithless Looting in Modern, but I've built decks. I'm sorry, Historic. I built decks in Modern either, I guess, right? But I have built decks in Historic that have wanted this card. Kind of like cycling decks. I definitely have felt the absence of this card. This is a really cool card to have in Historic. Definitely a card that will get better as time goes on and more cards are added. The only thing weird about this card is why wasn't it in the Amonkhet Remastered? I don't really understand. So kind of weird, but cool one. We're happy to have it. Up next is Faith the Devoted, 3 mana for enchantment. This is like the black, Lightning Rift, Drakehaven, this Astral Slide cycle kind of card. Whenever you cycle or discard, pay 1 and drain for 2. Kind of a cool card, pretty slow. This card costs like 1 or 2, maybe be reasonable as a cool finisher for a cycling deck, but real good is not very good. Just not really a great card. Another Amonkhet card that could have been an Amonkhet Remastered. Another kind of drafty card. I don't know. Not really super exciting here. Declaration in Stone. Now here's a card. This card is definitely solid. No Path to Exile in Historic yet. So this is one of the better options. Very fair card. This is a card that is kind of bad if you're not killing your opponent quickly because they can draw a card off the clue. It's card disadvantage, but it is a very cheap exiling removal spell, which is important for white and white aggressive decks. Cool tool to have in Historic, definitely. Cards he's playing Pioneer. Doesn't say play in Modern, but definitely solid play in Standard too. Kind of a cool one. Solid card. Definitely one of those cards. It's a tool to have around. Nothing backbreaking, but definitely solid. Ooh, that's a big one. One of the bigger ones here is Death Shadow. And it's funny because me and my buddy Andrew, I do a show called Mod Monday, play Goblins every Monday, and every first Monday of the month I do a showdown, and I challenge Andrew to Shadow versus Goblins. And Andrew had to play Historic and couldn't play Death Shadow, had to play Scourge of the Skyclaves, and that was like literally last week. This week. That was 5 days ago, actually, on this previous Monday. And now it's here. So kind of getting a prank played on us by Wizards of the Coast, but Shadow's obviously a very cool card, very powerful card in Modern. Interesting element to add to Historic. The big thing here is there's no Temur Battle Rage. There's no way to give it Double Strike and Trample, to my knowledge, in the Historic format, which is a huge part of what makes Shadow really, really good. If you can chump block it all day, and then Fatal Push is legal. So cool addition. One of those, kind of fun additions to make the Historic format a little more powerful. Pretty cool, pretty fun. Shock lands are available, obviously. No fetch lands, but kind of a cool one. Kind of a fun one. Pretty happy to have this card in Historic. Should be pretty cool. Collected Conjuring. This is another Modern Horizons card. This is Collected Company for spells. 4 mana Izzet. Exile top 6. Cast up to 2 instant or sorceries that cost 3 or less. Not a very good card. Tried to make this card work in Modern before. It's just too inconsistent, and you're not adding to the board. Part of what makes Collected Company so good is that you're adding 6 mana of creatures to the board. So you're getting a mana discount, it's an instant speed, and you're putting a lot of power in the on the battlefield. Being on the board is very important in modern day Magic, and this does not do that. It's also a sorcery. If it was an instant, I could definitely see it, but as a sorcery, not a very exciting card. What are you hitting here? Like 2 card draw spells, 2 removal spells, maybe? Like, just kind of it's an interesting card. I'm sure I'll try to make it work at some point, but kind of an one. Cold Steel Heart is a really cool one though. There are currently 2 mana rocks in Historic, Guardian Idol and Mind Stone. Mind Stone being obviously the best one by a lot. Cold Steel Heart adds to that roster, and of course, monocolored decks we'll touch on Snow sometimes. Decks like Snow Red, like Big Red Control, kind of cool. So kind of cool to have a 2 mana mana rock that makes a color, and kind of cool to have a 2 mana rock. It's also a Snow permanent for Snow stuff. Cool card. This is a really good addition to Historic. I like it a lot. Kind of a unique effect for the format, and does a lot of different things in different ways. So A+ in this one. Simple but effective addition. Bone Splitter. What? Why are we? What's with the draft commons? I love Bone Splitter. I do love this card. I do think this card is like niche playable in Constructed. It's basically a Rancor with artifact synergies. Don't count this card out in Constructed. All right, I really think this card is reasonable if you're playing a super low curve, aggressive affinity deck or artifact deck, things like that. If you're looking for cheap artifacts to turn on your synergies, this one does that reasonably well. So don't sleep on Bone Splitter. It may see play, possibly. I'm sure I'll put it in some horrible deck at some point. But again, kind of weird. Another draft common. A little awkward, but cool. Blink Moth Nexus is a big one. This is a really big one. It's another great boon to the artifact decks. There aren't a ton of great creature lands in Historic. They're all fairly clunky. no mutavaults, things like that. So Blink On Nexus is going to be a huge, huge boon to any monocolored aggressive deck, any artifact deck. Blink On Nexus saw a ton of play in standard, block constructed, and extended when it was legal a million years ago. Really, really cool card. Very, very happy to see Seabus in Historic. This is a big hit for me. These are the kind of cards that make me happy. That's great. You know, Blink On Nexus is a super great addition, and it's a real one. It's a real one. Okay, they can't all be real ones, I guess, right? Emmit Eternal, 3 mana for a 5/5. This is another rando Amonkhet Remastered reject here. 5/5. When your opponent casts a spell, it shrinks. It just afflict. It's just like a middling rare. You know, couldn't even make it in standard really. I don't understand why this card's in the set. I don't really know. This card's going to see basically no play at all. Not only is it somewhat insulting, it's not going to see any play, but it's also kind of insulting that it wasn't in Amonkhet Remastered. So, I don't know. Kind of a weird one. Speaking of Amonkhet Remastered rejects, one of the big asks when Amonkhet Remastered came out was, where was Adorned Pouncer? This card saw a bit of play in Standard. It's kind of a cool card. They've been pushing cat-themed decks for a bit in previous sets. It's like a really logical card to want to put in your Amonkhet Remastered set. It just wasn't there. And now it's here in the Anthology, which is kind of weird because it's probably not going to see play much. It's kind of just like a fun card. I don't know. Kind of weird. Not really sure. Abomination of Land. Now, this is an elf card. This card's going to make some waves, I think. I think that elves with Collected Company in Historic is already a passable deck. This one's really good. Abomination of Land is freaking huge. And a commander card, 3 mana for a star. It's a legend elf horror. Vigilance Menace. Power and toughness equal to the number of elves you control plus in your graveyard. So if you have 2 elves in play, this is a 3/3, which is already reasonable rate. Later in the game, this thing is just going to get monstrous. You have to kill a few elves. Say they cast Wrath of God, you end-step company of this, it's going to be its N10 or whatever. Like, this card is pretty solid. Probably like a 2 in elf decks in Historic. Again, this is a fun addition for me. I like this card. It's kind of a cool card. It's some commander things. Hasn't seen much play in Constructed because it's kind of a weird commander product card that won't see play in Legacy. But can have new life in Historic. This is an A+ for me. I think this card is pretty cool, and they're really cool addition to Historic. Again, being able to see cards like this getting their time in the limelight because they're not really good enough for Legacy is really, really cool. This is an A+ for me. I'm real happy with Abomination of Land. That's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. And overall, I must say, I'm not super excited here. We have a lot of weird draft commons. Let's go through. We got what? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 7. It's a weird mixture of maybe like 5 cards that are pretty cool for Historic. Not like super impactful, but pretty cool. And then like 6 or 7 weird draft commons, like 4 or 5 weird rejects that probably should have been an Amonkhet Remastered or Kaladesh Remastered. All in all, pretty unimpressed on here, honestly, with Historic Anthology 4 here. There are a lot of cool cards that get added to Historic. A Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile, other interesting threats, interesting synergy cards. The first few anthologies were really, really cool. They cards like Knight of the Reliquary and Recycling Lands. A lot of really interesting deck building tools. And this one falls flat for me a little bit. There are about 5 cards I'm pretty pumped about. But overall, not super impressed. I'm going to get it. I'm going to play Historic with it probably. But kind of weird. I would like it if Wizards of the Coast would let us know what their mission statement is for these anthologies. What's the goal of these? What's the purpose? Are we trying to make Historic its own format? Are we trying to give casual players cards? What's the end goal for these anthologies? Because I'm a little bit curious. I'm not going to lie, a little bit curious. I'm Jim Davis. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let me know what card you think is going to have the biggest impact and what card is the biggest disappointment. And I love y'all. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the channel for more constructed and limited videos on Arena and Magic Online. I love y'all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.